Can't see you, Adrian.
We're starting. They're prepared.
Luke.
Body go.
I ain't afraid no more. I ain't afraid to sing. And if the words are clear, I know that I will sing. Busting out the rules that they control. Busting out a love there in my soul. Busting out a dream that won't be so. I said no. I'm busting fear. Busting fear. Busting fear. Busting fear.
Thank you again, Bobby Lee, for always faithfully showing up to play us that song live. We appreciate that so much.
You are welcome, Carol. Dixie.
And I have to apologize because I've always acknowledged the people in the Whisper Room. They show, can you guys bring up the Whisper Room camera? There they are. Dan, Mike, Ginger, and Rebecca are back there helping make this show go. And then I forget about Luke and Adrian. Adrian is the host on Underground and Bartending 101. Bartending 101 for drunks. And then Luke is also a part of that show. And they run the cameras for this show. And I always forget to say thank you to them. One, because the lights are shining on us and I can't see them too well. So they kind of disappear. So I just want to say how much I appreciate all the people that volunteer to show up and make this program functional and broadcasted. And remember, this is a live call-in show, 360-693-7544, 360-693-7544. And Dixie has been gone for a couple of weeks on some adventures with family and business, and so we want to say how thankful we are that she's back and joining us tonight, and we want to say how much we appreciated Katie, who filled in over these last 2 weeks. And Dixie has forgot to put on her microphone. Okay, so I will just start, and my buttons have gotten pushed, and so I feel like I'm on this freight train and I just have to get this out. So Dixie will have to just kind of jump in and say, whoa, Carol, I got to say something right here. Well, what's been very interesting to me is that things kind of find me. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a gentleman call in and mention the function of Jade Helm. And I wasn't quite clear about what Jade Helm was. And then this last Monday night, I was listening to FM 101.1. It's Ground Zero, a radio show, broadcast from Portland, Oregon. And they were talking about this Jade Helm and how this Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has called out the state guard to watch these folks that are in Operation Jade Helm. Now, as I've researched this, I may not have this specifically correct, but what I have discovered about this, that this is military exercises across the United States and some choice states that they deem potential terrorist states or extremists living there. And Texas is one of them. I think Oklahoma is another, and Utah. So there's some different ideas about what this Jade Helm might be doing. It's possible that it's getting us ready if martial law is declared, so that we'll be used to seeing the military in our cities. And it's unfortunate, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know, that President Obama has written over 1,000 executive orders. Now, I'm sure he lays awake at night dreaming up, how can I write another executive order? I'm being facetious. Somebody's writing these things, he's signing it. And I'm sure that probably throughout my day, I'm probably violating several of those. I mean, who can keep up with 1,000 executive orders? Come on. So anyway, that is part of this crowd, how do you go? Cloud Privens thing that was written by two socialist democratic university teachers. And what that is that you overwhelm the system by creating crisis after crisis after crisis. And my goodness, isn't that happening all over the world? Crisis after crisis after crisis in all countries, in all departments, and just some horrid things going on. And sometimes you just have to scratch your head and go, what is wrong with us? So I want to read some things to you that I took notes on. I listened to a show by Alex Jones, and he was on 3 months ago, and he was extremely angry. I've never seen him so angry. It's a little hot in here, folks. Okay, from Alex Jones. Special ops is a 10-state exercise to prepare for martial law. Let's see, and the maps show, government maps show Texas, Utah, Oklahoma as hostile states. The Defense Department calls the Founding Fathers extremists. Several years ago, U.S. troops were carrying out military exercises in Vancouver, Canada. That is so that they will get used to having foreign troops on their soil. Wellness checks by military and special forces are going home to home and confiscating guns, but it's called wellness checks. Now, hold on.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Is that going to be happening?
No.
It's happening right now?
Yes. All of this has been in place to happen since 1960, but actually it's been happening ever since we had our Constitution, because, as you see, the State Department calls our Founding Fathers extremists. There's been a plan to unhook us and get rid of our Constitution. That's actually what happened with 9/11 and the Patriot Act. That unhooked the government from the Constitution. Do you understand that?
It unhooked the government?
It took the government, it unhooked them from having to
because
follow
it was
the Constitution.
extremist. Oh, I see. All right.
That's the point of the Patriot Act.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how many people know that, but in Nazi Germany, they recruited the clergy to report on people in their churches. Guess what? Our church pastors are now used as spies on family, and those are reported because, of course, the church pastor knows what's going on in the community, knows what's going on with the people, knows who has the guns and such.
So maybe that's why not as many people go to church these days.
Yeah, I'm kind of encouraged. I would encourage people to stop going to church. You don't need to go to church to be spiritual. The re-education camp manual does apply domestically to all U.S. citizens. The National Guard is looking for internment. Okay, the National Guard was advertising for an internment resettlement specialist. Now, who are they going to be resettling in these FEMA camps? Do you know about the FEMA camps?
I've heard of them, yes.
Okay. And this plan...
And should you explain that to the audience?
Internment camps? Or resettlement camps? It would take a little bit too long.
In other words, maybe there's a part of our government that would like to intern us and resettle us so that we're not as much of a problem to them?
Yes. Well, for instance, they consider liberty lovers are now listed as terrorists. The Tea Party?
Yeah.
So if you love liberty, you are now considered a terrorist.
Yeah, but, well, I won't argue.
Okay. Since 2006,
This
Homeland Security enlisted clergy to quell the public unrest if martial law is ever declared. Not only are they using the clergy as spies, but they are using them to reassure people that if martial law is declared, to keep them calm and so they won't riot. All right, now, one fellow I found on YouTube was thinking that perhaps Governor Abbott of Texas was recruiting the state guard to watch the Jade Helm folks. And I'm thinking, yes, finally somebody's standing up against this kind of action. However, this other fellow thinks that, well, of course, Texas is Bush country, and they want to get control back from the Democrats to the Republicans. So he was thinking maybe this is an attempt to make this Governor Abbott look like a hero and possibly push him to be part of the presidency. I gotta say, I hear another Bush is running for the president, Hillary Clinton, and he's, of course, we are being told now he's the favorite. And, of course, we're also being told now that Hillary Clinton is the favorite for the Democrat Party. Well, you know, I just say don't vote. To me, those are not choices. Those are not sound and reasonable choices. And what happened if no one voted? They always push you, get out the vote, get out the vote. Your vote doesn't do any good. Doesn't matter who's elected. Yes, they do. They want us to support the Matrix. Thank you, Mike. That's true. Okay. This week, Mike says Hillary for prison 2016. Mike is the general manager of the channel. I'm just telling what he said in my ear. I didn't say that. Okay. This week on BBC America, they showed Russia was showing the military equipment that they have this week. And the commentator says, could they be restarting the Cold War? Now, if you remember last week, I read a document where the Cold War was set up so that we would have a perpetual enemy. I mean, once the Cold War ended, now we needed another enemy to go after to justify all kinds of military spending, making equipment.
Well, there have been other wars besides the Cold War, actual wars.
No. Cold War wasn't a real war.
I know that, but I'm saying there have been actual wars since then.
Yes.
So
but
they've been kept busy.
Yes, they have been kept busy, but they also set you up to think of systems and people and creating false flag events like Sandy Hook and the Boston bombing. I mean, the same people, the same actors. They're actors hired by FEMA to carry these things out and make them look real, and they're just false flag events. All right, let's see. Something very interesting last week I watched on the History Channel on Hangar 1 files. That's MUFON records they've gathered for over 40 some years.
And explain what MUFON is.
Mutual UFO Network. And they go out and research, people report to them, they have records, and they try to debunk most of these UFO sightings, but there's some things that can't be explained. But a government manual was released or brought to someone's attention, and in that manual, this is the government has identified 57 extrabiological entities or aliens or creatures.
Extraterrestrials?
But you know, they might be terrestrial, they might be here. I mean, they've identified 57, and yet there's a smear campaign that anybody that brings this up, and in fact that's in the documents that I also saw, was to discredit people that see any of this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking about all this stuff. We're like a frog in a pot being slowly boiled, you know, to being overwhelmed, and all of these lies, and trying to create civil unrest, trying to promote or get Obama to be a dictator. And you know, a lot of if you just don't show up, if some kind of shooting happens, don't say anything, don't do anything about it, don't riot. What if you just don't react to it? They want to stir something up,
yes,
to bring in martial law, to justify bringing in these folks that are doing this Jade Helm. Someone really wants to bring down the U.S., and I can't say I would disagree with that. I mean, we were doing some horrible things, and they really need to stop.
Well, now wait a minute. Bring down the United States to what?
Yeah.
What are you thinking that it could bring down the United States to if you think it's this bad right now?
So,
Well, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that manipulate all countries.
Yes.
And of course, we've heard talk for years and years. They want to crash our monetary system. If they start black on white rioting, that would bring the troops in to create martial law. Martial law suspends the Constitution. What most people don't know, that the Constitution was suspended in 1933 when they took us off the gold standard anyway.
Well, how about if I put in my thoughts about this?
Okay, go for it.
All right. What you've been talking about is a lot of information that creates a lot of fear.
Yes.
And I think that that is exactly what those people that do that want to do to us, is create so much fear that we are not sure where we're going or what we're doing. Okay, so my thoughts are, and this is information from an entity called Bashar, which you can look up on the internet. It's Bashar. And he says, we create our own journey. Our choices are the ones that lead us either to I have to get these straight, higher way of being, or being ruled by fear that is a form of evil. We choose the people who are our leaders. If we don't like our leaders, then we replace them with our votes. Everything is energy. If we don't like the energy, then we replace it. We should not buy into a fearful world. That creates a void that can be replaced by positive energy. So I'm not saying that anything that you're talking about isn't really happening, but from my point of view, I'm not going to buy into that fear mode. I understand that we have to do things sometimes to keep things like that from happening. However, I think it's gotten to the point where it's very difficult to find a way for each of us individually to do that. So my thoughts are that I need to stay with positive energy and create what I want in my life rather than what they want me to create in my life. So I'm going to read a little bit of a book I have called Brotherhood, which is Working Together. It says, by the way, this is written 100 years ago, and it was by a person who called himself anonymous because he did not want his name to interfere with the information. And basically what this is a channeling of what God is, the God energy. And people can say, well, you couldn't do that 100 years ago. Well, they did it 2,000 years ago, and 300 years after that when they wrote the Bible. So anyway, okay. You are troubled by the problem of evil, thinking that evil is only an illusion, and by recognizing and trying to fight it only gives to it a power over you which otherwise it would not have. Know the truth. Evil does exist, but only in man's mind, created by his own evil thinking, and it is a very tangible power there, so long as he continues to feed and vitalize it by entertaining such thoughts and allowing them to influence or control his speech and actions. However, there is a center within man, deep within his heart, where I, the Christ of him, abide. There he becomes, and I consider Christ the energy of love. There he becomes a center of and one with my consciousness. This is God talking. His true home where all is peace, purity, power, and perfection. Whenever man stays outside that home center, no matter if in the world of thought, the world of feeling and desire, or the outermost world of matter, unless his attention is firmly fixed upon me, God, in that center, or he knows his oneness with God there, all becomes confused and distorted, and all tends to distract and separate man's consciousness from mine, and to involve and hold him in these worlds which long ages ago, when he had wholly forgotten me and imagined himself alone and separate from my life and my love, God's life and God's love, he had created by mentally building them in one by one around him until they grew into definite beliefs, and the outermost became so crystallized a concept that he saw all things in this realm as separate, materialized forms, and thought them unquestionably solid and tangible. So my thoughts are, we're separating ourselves from what's in the love energy within us. And so when we focus on all of the negative things that are happening, we're giving those negative things a lot more power.
Okay, just want first
go
I
ahead.
want to say here, I'm not talking about this so we focus on them. I'm talking about them so that we know that these things are happening now and they're coming at us. And so that was my question. How do we keep our spiritual center when all of this is happening? That
Well-
was the next thing, because you need to know what's out there so you can not engage in it, so that you cannot be caught up into it. But it's nice to know where it is so that you
Yes.
can step off their chessboard.
Well, and that's the thing about separating. We feel a separation, therefore those things out there impact us. And I agree with you. We need to know what's out there. But I think then we have to go within our heart to say, wait a minute, I want some peace and I want some quiet. And I really don't want to have to put all my energy into fighting with this information. So let me read another one. It's called The Enemy. Man, from the earliest day, even during his sojourn in Eden, has been aware of two forces within himself, ever opposing each other. One that would inspire and lead him to the highest, and the other to the lowest of thoughts, feelings, and actions. During sorry, I've got to put my glasses on.
There.
If I can just unhook them here. During his racial childhood, man named that which called forth the lower phases of his nature the devil, and thought of it as a malevolent power ever seeking to frustrate and keep from him the fulfillment of his desires. Later, he questioned if it were not God punishing him for sins committed by withholding from him the good things of life. But not until man grew up and his real self began to direct his thoughts was he able to see that what was holding him back and forcing him to be content with present, if inadequate, possessions was but his own weakness of character and intellect, and that not until he had earned them could the powers unfold that came with knowledge and understanding, and could be exercised and controlled by him in the high use for which alone he began to see they were permitted and intended. One more paragraph. And with this knowledge gradually came the realization that these higher powers could not unfold while selfishness ruled him, and that selfishness was in some definite way related to the devil of earlier days. It was then that man began to respond consciously to the leadings of his higher self and to try to control and overcome selfishness. In so doing, he found that when he yielded to the voice of self, trouble, failure, inharmony, or suffering always resulted, and although he knew this and sought to avoid such, yet there was something within him that was stronger and made him yield to that hidden and persistent selfishness, ever seeking to maintain complete control. Then it goes on to talk about, you go into your heart and you see the love energy. It is in everyone's heart. There's a love energy, a higher being. And you and I know a man that talks about our higher being and our lower being.
Oh, yes.
And so it's, in a way, it needs to become a habit that when the lower being is talking to you and creating problems in your life, you say, no. I'm going to my higher being. It has to become a habit that you tell it to stop attacking you and leave it alone. Leave you alone so that you can live a life that's not so focused on negative energy. I don't know that that's any solution to this. It just gives me a more peacefulness inside myself. Very good.
Do we get that? Or are you answering back there first? Answer the phone. Okay, we have a phone call, folks. Hello, caller. You're on Busting Fair.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
I just want to ask you, Dixie is talking about love.
Yes.
And to me, love has wisdom to it. And
Yes.
in love, if you had Hitler or Stalin to vote for, how would love choose which one you would vote for?
I wouldn't
Can you
vote.
hear me?
Yes.
You wouldn't vote.
Yeah, we wouldn't
Exactly.
vote. We wouldn't
Well,
vote for either one. Yes.
And so the same thing what we have now as people running for our presidency, we have criminal people that are running.
Yes.
And so where does love come in where you choose which one to vote for?
That's what I said. Stop voting. You don't have a choice.
I don't.
It's not fear. It's not fear. Love wins out. So instead of fearing the situation, if we go at it through love, love would say, hey, I'm not going to participate in this criminal activity. You're giving me the Crips or the Bloods to vote for. Which one are you going to vote for? Which gang?
Exactly. Sometimes love is not participating.
Yes.
Exactly. You're setting a standard that I am not going to participate in evil. The last two presidents are warmongers.
Yes.
They have not stopped the war.
Yes.
And so in love, I'm not going to vote for these guys because I'm declaring that this war that we are participating in is wrong.
Well, sometimes you
So-
also have to use your mind to make an intelligent choice. It can't always be from what you feel. But
Exactly.
Mike and I watched The Matrix the other night again. We probably watched it 10 times before. And I wanted to watch it with a perspective of, now that I have a different understanding of many things, what could I actually get out of that? Because that was such a beautiful metaphor, that and Dark City. And it was about the fear matrix keeping you controlled. And then when Neo saw through the matrix, he was able to take over Mr. Smith and manipulate Mr. Smith to his will to cause, well, I don't know, Mr. Smith needed to be harmed. he was mean. But there was a point where Neo learned to move like they do and not have the bullets hit him. So he learned some things before he even consciously understood he had those skills and abilities. So his mind was working before his heart understood his capabilities. So sometimes love is making an intelligent and sound choice. It's like Don McLean said in his interview, we have to fight for insanity. for our sanity. Sorry. We have to fight for our sanity in this insane world. Yes.
Yeah, and I think what Dixie is saying is very important, because I believe there's a lot of people out there that believe the same way, and sometimes we are put into a situation where we fear that we have to vote. And so it could be the opposite of like what Dixie's saying. You go, I decide, I'm not going to live in fear, so I am going to vote. But some people are fearful, so they're put in that position of fear where they feel like they have to vote. And so I just want to, I think this is a good subject for everybody to know, that you as an individual have to make the decision on how you're going to set that standard of what love is. And I always hear this statement, and it's actually parroted. It's not people's actually opinion. It's been parroted over and over and over, that just because you don't vote, then you don't have a choice to have your opinion. No, that is my opinion by not voting. I'm making a statement by not voting.
Yeah.
And so,
if you have no good choices. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting right now is Hillary and, from what I understand, Jeb Bush went to the last Bilderberg meeting. And you don't get into that spot of representing your party unless you are chosen by the Bilderbergs.
Yep.
So this situation here is we need to make a stand against this, the upper echelon of always making these choices for us to make a choice between the two puppets that they choose. They win no matter what decision we make, because they're putting the puppets up there.
Yes.
So why don't we put our puppet up there? Why don't we put our leader up there instead of them choosing the ones we have to vote for?
Exactly. It's not a system of by the people, for the people, by the people, of the people anymore. It's by the lobbyists, by the companies, by Monsanto. It's a very corrupt system. And so not only do you have them denying the 57 alien entities that they have identified in the government, they don't tell you the truth about what's really going on. So you can't make a sound decision. You can't make a sound choice. When you withhold the truth, that is manipulation. And I think that study they did so many years ago, the Billings, about we couldn't handle UFO information, I think we can handle it. I think we can handle all the truth. I know a lot of things, and they're despicable things, and I can handle it. I want to know what's going on, because when you don't tell me what's really going on, then I can't make a sound choice that's in my best interest. And first, my choice must cause no harm.
Well, that's the whole problem. What you were just saying, they think that we can't handle it. Who are they to say that I can't handle it?
Exactly.
Who are they to say? They're not my parents.
That's true.
I'm old enough to make my own decision. If I make a mistake, I pay the price.
Yes.
Not them. So why are they making all the decisions for me? Obviously their decisions are horrible.
Well, the problem also is that if we came up with someone else that, say, came from the love energy, the way the system is set up, it would be almost impossible to get them elected.
Exactly. I think you hit it, Dixie. What's going on is that they don't want us to have love, because love would not be black or white. It would not be Democrat or Republican. We would be looking out for one another, trying to build each other up instead of tearing each other down.
That's true.
And that's what they don't want.
Yes, it's actually a matrix of fear to keep you so busy and so distracted. You actually are inhibited or prevented from actually tapping into your divine purpose or your divine journey or whatever. That keeping you confused and in fear prevents you from getting connected to what your true purpose is.
Yep. Well, thank you, ladies.
Well, thank
Thank
you for
you.
calling in.
Okay. Bye.
Have a good weekend.
I'd like to also add that as far as just having a more peaceful life, I would like to recommend music,
Okay.
because music can be such a soothing, wonderful way of keeping us calm. And I would like to ask you, Johnny, if
Bobby.
Bobby, sorry, if you would.
I'm
That's-
Johnny Bobby. But you just call me Bobby.
That's the other Johnny.
If you would sing that song that you were singing earlier.
Well, I can't. It's not done yet.
Oh.
What I was singing to you, I was giving you one of those rare places where a songwriter allows someone to hear what he's working on, not what he's done with. But when I'm done with it, I'll be happy to play it for
All
you.
right, all right. Anyway, so are we?
Are you about wound down?
Yes, I think
Okay.
so. I'd just like to make the point that if we create a void, then we can put the positive energy into our lives and our world.
How do you put positive energy into your life and your world?
Well, I do it by not sometimes watching the news.
Okay.
I want to be aware of what's going on in the world, but I don't want to be aware of all the details of everything that's bad that's happening. I listen to music. I read books like this. I fill my mind with more positive energy, and it makes me a lot happier.
So you choose your journey.
Yes, I've chosen my journey. That's exactly what Bashar says. We choose our journey, and I choose to be in a more peaceful world.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dixie. I appreciate your input. That was very helpful, I think. So
Thank
I
you.
guess, okay, Bobby Lee, take us out. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
What a great talk tonight, ladies. I wanted to chime in there 2 or 3 times, but I realized that I had forgotten my phone,
Oh, so you couldn't call,
so I
huh?
couldn't call. Okay. I ain't afraid no more. I ain't afraid to say. And if the words are clear, you know that I can say. Busting out the rules that they control. Busting out a love from my soul. Busting out the dream that won't be sold. I said no. I'm busting fear, busting fear, busting fear.